Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Holly Poole. I'm in the Halifax, Nova Scotia area of Canada. I'm an astrologer. I'm also a health theologist, and I want to explain that in 1 second. I'm also a soul coach. So I combine so many of this information directly together as we talk about the movement of the planet. But before I go there, I want to explain what is a healthyologist. I get that question quite often. So, as a healthyologist, we look at life in specifically our health. There are four pillars of health. There is the physical, which our doctors look after. There's the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. I don't look after the physical. But I do work a lot with people with spiritual, mental, and emotional issues. Most of those answers I get by using astrology, looking at the natal chart of an individual. As most of you know, I firmly believe in past lifetimes. I'm an evolutionary astrologer. So, our chart to me is what we have actually brought forward in life. That gives us the very essence to us. When we look at our chart, we recognize that when we are born and we take that very first breath, we suck in our whole entire chart. So we cannot be somebody other than the chart itself. So I hope that helps to explain a little bit of my integration with the astrology and the health theology. Those together brings me to the soul coaching. If you're interested further in more information, visit my website, www.hollypoole, pool with an E, hollypoole.com. My soul coaching program is totally under the section called Seasons of Your Life. Okay, let me now say happy birthday to our Aquarian friends. Their birthday takes us in January from the 20th of January to the 18th, 19th of February, a lot of it depending on what year you are born. My health theology, I also bring in a lot of gemstone information. And the gemstone that I've chosen to put together with our Aquarian friends is the amethyst. And I refer to that as the stone of the gods. As we know, amethyst is of a purple color. I'll link it down below, that article, if you're interested in reading it. And when we talk about the chakra systems, the crown chakra, lots of times people put together the crown chakra with either white or purple. And many years ago, I was doing gemstone healing work. I would always use amethyst when working with the crown chakra. The crown chakra is often, excuse me, where we intuit in messages from God, universe, angels, spirit guide, whatever your personal belief system is. And so I've actually chosen the amethyst to go together with the Aquarian mindset, the Aquarian energy. Aquarians, and I am an Aquarian, so I can say this, we're really odd, we're different, we're weird. We've come to be weird. And I think the connection with the gods, we're very futuristic, always looking forward into the future. And let me share my screen because the new moon that we are actually experiencing on the 9th of February, as I said, I'm in the Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada area. And that new moon is exact around 6:48 in the evening. So the new moon, and I talked about this before, the new moon is our place to start newness. It's a fantastic place to begin new projects. And I talked about this on the newsletter I just sent out, talking about the fact that when I work with clients, and let's say they're talking about starting a new project, they're going to build a new deck on the back of their home. I say, start a file folder on the day of the new moon. Carl Jung tells us that, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but how something begins is sort of the vibration that carries throughout the whole entire project or the timing of what it is. And so what that means is if we start something on the new moon, it actually gives it the vibration of the newness. This new moon is in the sign of Aquarius, and people automatically think this is waves of water. Yes, Aquarius is certainly the water bearer, but Aquarius is an air sign, a mentality sign, a thought-provoking sign. There's lots of Aquarians who are very big into science. They love the idea of UFOs, of scientific exploration, lots of great scientists. And I'm not saying there's not great scientists in other signs, but when we think about scientists that are very futuristic mindset, they're very much under the Aquarian label. So the new moon happens when we have the sun and the new moon that come together. Now, when we have a full moon, it's when the sun and the moon are opposite to each other. And I probably explained this in my last full moon video, but for some of you who may not have watched that, the moon itself holds no light. So the moon itself actually gets the light directly reflected from the sun. Well, you can see that when the sun and the moon sit together, that's the beginning of the cycle of the next new moon. And then we're going to see the moon go on over, and we're going to get to the 24th of February. We're going to have a full moon. When the moon's going to be opposite the sun, you'll be able to look up in the sky and be able to see it. And then, of course, the moon will move on by, and it comes around to complete the cycle to create the next new moon. And this happens roughly every 28, 29 days. One of the things we look at when we look at the new moon is, where does that show up in your personal chart? Right here, we're seeing it show up in the 7th house. And that's only because I set the ascendant at Leo. The AS house in the chart is always the 1st house. Underneath that is the 2nd. Underneath that is the 3rd. Underneath that is the 4th. So we come around the circle counterclockwise. So you want to see what house on the outside rim is Aquarius. And then the features of that particular house brings in newness, new ideas, new suggestions, new openings of doors. So going back to, I didn't quite finish the conversation about starting a new deck in the back, or a project, or looking for a new job, or wanting to write a new book. You want to start it on a new moon. Now, sometimes at that new moon period, let's say the 9th of February, you're thinking, well, Holly, I can't start a new deck right now. I mean, it's, at least in Eastern Canada, there's snow out there. That's right, exactly. But what you can do is set up a new file folder, whether that's physical form or whether you set it up on your phone. People live on their phones these days. Set it up on some way, but do it on the new moon, because if you set up a file folder and call it the back deck, the new deck, the deck I'm building in May or June, that starts the vibration happening right there. And as we said, Carl Jung says how something starts is the vibration of it moving forward. With this new moon as well, if you want to do some type of a ritual, I highly recommend you hold an amethyst in your hand. Amethyst is a pretty common gemstone. Most people have an amethyst. If I were to say, hold a dioptase or malachite or something like that, people may go, But amethyst is a regular gemstone. It's the purple gemstone. Most people really like the color of the amethyst. And because it's in Aquarius, I had said, this is not waves of water, it is actually waves of electricity. And if you know any Aquarians, they regularly get shocks off their light twitches. They also magnetize, they're able to manifest by magnetizing the vibration they are sending out in order to pull something back in. They're very futuristic thinking. So again, with that ritual, holding that amethyst, try to envision, where do you want to be in a year from now? Where do you want to be in 2 years from now? Aquarians are often 5 years ahead of their time. So if you actually want to magnetize out 5 years, where do you want to live? Where do you want to be? What do you want life to look like in that 5 years? Take some time on that day of February the 9th. Even the next day, the whole next day, the 10th, you're still holding the vibration. We've got a 24-hour after the new moon in order to magnetize what it is you're looking for out there. And so, as you see, I've named this Think Outside of the Norm. Why am I saying that? Well, in astrology, we look at what is the ruler, what is the actual ruler of Aquarius. And in modern astrology, the ruler of Aquarius is the astrological sign Uranus. Now, Uranus is the planet of unexpected events. Hence my thought of think outside of the norm. Uranus is in a square. We do call this a square. Aquarius is a fixed sign. If you know any Aquarius, they can be pretty fixed in opinion. Just ask me. They can be fixed in opinion. They can be fixed in a mindset. When they become fixed on something, they will make this happen. That's an Aquarian mindset. Now, when we have a square with its ruler, that sets up some annoyance. Doesn't mean to say it's not going to happen, but what it says is that we've got to think outside of that box. And Uranus is saying, if you're thinking, oh, in 5 years' time, this is the boring part, this is the thing, this is what I'm going to, no way. That's not what Uranus wants you to do. Uranus wants you to think way out there. What would happen if you decided today, I'm going to do a 5-year university course? And lots of times I get notes from people going, oh, but Holly, like I'm in my mid-50s, or I'm in my mid-60s, or I'm too old. Old? Are you silly? You're not thinking outside the box. if that's the case. Uranus is saying, stop thinking the way you've always been thinking. This new moon says, we're giving you the opportunity, honey, to think outside of that box and to be able to work your way forward. Pluto has entered Aquarius, that Aquarian mindset, and I can draw a line from Pluto to Pallas Athene, the asteroid goddess Pallas Athene. Pallas Athene was a warrior goddess. She would put on her armor and she would lead the Greeks into war. So we have behind us, with all of this Aquarian mindset, if you study Hellenistic astrology, they tell you that anything within 30 degrees of that sign would be pulling directly towards that sign. I am not a Hellenistic astrologer, but I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying that's not kind of how I do it. But I look at other things that are actually going on and creating some shifts and changes. We also know this Uranus. This Uranus, I can draw a line from that Uranus down to Venus. Now you might say, why would you do that, Holly? That's creating a trine. So we like trines. Trines are good. Why would you do this? Well, we look at what is ruling this Taurus. Uranus is in Taurus. What is ruling this Taurus? Well, it's Venus. So Venus is saying to Uranus, I can help you with this. I can help with that. I want you to have the mindset of what would happen if. Part of it can be financial. In the sign of Taurus, Taurus is often our financial industry. Financially, you may sort of think about the fact of, so, if I were to, and I'm just going to use this as an example, go and do a different degree, where would I find the money? Venus is saying, first of all, you got to decide, is that what's going to make your heart sing? Because if that's what's going to make your heart sing, I will help you get that. I will help you work on that. I will help you be able to come up with what it is that you need. But first and foremost, I need you to decide what you want with this new moon. So it's an interesting new moon, but do remember my words. Think outside of the norm. There's a few other things going on this new moon. We also have North Node and Chiron playing together. Now, that can be a bit difficult because Chiron, in the mythological world of Chiron, Chiron had been the wounded warrior. But Chiron learned how to become the greatest healer. The North Node is bringing us in that sense of purpose right now. And it's creating, in astrology, it's creating a sextile. We like sextiles. Sextiles are good. That's fire, that's air, it's creating a sextile. So Uranus says, you can think outside the box. We need you to come out of this. Oh, but I'm not smart enough, tall enough, cute enough, fat enough, skinny enough, whatever. Fill in the blank. Stop that. Pluto entering Aquarius has said, don't go down that road. Pluto in Aquarius has been trying to teach us. Put away all things in life that keeps you from being free. Stop it. If you have those sense of fears, do what Dr. Wayne Dyer says in his book. Challenge them. I'm not smart enough to go back to university. Dr. Wayne Dyer in his book says, challenge it. Say, how do you know that? You don't know that. And North Node and Chiron playing together, they're within 1 degree of each other, are very in your face on that. That's bringing a challenge for every single person, no matter what sign you are. Because it's happening up here in the sky. What happens up here comes down to the earth plane. Every single person. If you look at your own personal chart and you see where the sign of Aries is going through. Now, in your personal chart, Aries might be over here, or it might be down there, or it might be there. Aries, where Aries is going through, that's where you're getting that challenge. And my question to you is, are you going to play the game? Uranus says if you think outside of the norm, there's answers. There's answers everywhere. Now, asteroid goddess Vesta, who sat at the gate of the Vestial Virgins, is the only, well, it's not the only one, we've got Juno as well, is the only asteroid goddess, Vesta and Juno, are retrograding. So Vesta is sort of sleeping. She's sort of napping at the gates that can open for you and allow it to go in. We also recognize, the eclipse point. This was the eclipse point back in October. It was October the 14th. October the 14th of 2023. That's actually creating a trine with this new moon. So if you actually go back, for those of you who keep journals, if you go back to October, there was a door that opened for you there, open for all of us. But there was a door that opened. The door may have just been in your mind. I think this would be great. I think I'd like to do this. This would be fun to do. Everything in life is about a timing, And I always say that with eclipses, not much happens right on the day of the eclipse. We got to wait for it to get ignited. It's kind of like setting up a campfire. That campfire can sit there and it can wait, and it can wait, and it can wait. But if you don't put a match there, that'll never catch fire. This is the fire time. This new moon, because all of the planets are rolling forward, this new moon is a huge igniting time. Think, everybody say it, think outside of the norm. Think outside of the norm. Then as we go, didn't want to do that. I want it to go per day. Then as we go, the next day on the 10th, now we've got the moon. The moon has moved on, and the moon has come to line up with Saturn. Well, the moon and Saturn, both in the sign of Pisces, that is Pisces being the most intuitive sign in the whole entire zodiac, can very much ask us, who is it that we can ask to get some help with? Now, one of the things I do is I talk to the angels a lot. I often say, I don't have this answer right now, but I need you guys to kind of download that answer to me. I need you to somehow or other help me with this. If it is for my highest good, help me to be able to envision and see, Jupiter rules Pisces in the traditional astrology. So Jupiter is trying to have a conversation. Jupiter's saying, yeah, we can move you forward. Yep, we're on the forward track here. And because Jupiter rules Pisces, I'm helping you. It's also a sextile in astrology, but it's giving us this ability. So ask the angels to help. Do help. Get me some of the answers that I need out there. And then as we move our way along, one of the other things is that, Mars and Venus. Now, this is the masculine feminine energy. And sometimes, I don't know, sometimes we can feel too proud to ask for help. But everything in life comes at a cost. I grew up in Newfoundland, the most easterly province in Canada. And my grandmother, who I recognize now as a very, very, very wise lady, she used to say, Holly, pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. I don't know where that came from. It could be directly out of the Bible. I have no idea. But I've often thought about that. Pride goeth before destruction. Sometimes our pride gets in the way. Sometimes people call it ego. Maybe our ego gets in the way. This is our time, folks, that we want to be moving forward. This is our time that if Tom, Dick, Harry, Sally, George, whatever, can help us, they can always say no. If they don't want to, they can always say no. But it never hurts to ask. And we are a time in life right now that is huge for us. Let's go to the 13th of February. Now, this is going to be an interesting time. We got Mars and Pluto. On the world stage, this concerns me a little bit. The day before, we've got Mars at 29 degrees, the anaretic degree of Mars. Mars is the god of war. Mars is the planet of aggression. And Mars is coming to line up with Pluto. This is like a crashing in of the walls. As I said, on the world stage, I'm a bit concerned over this whole alignment. I have to assume with faith that everything is for a reason. We may not know, we may not understand, we may not recognize the scheme of the grand plan. Mars, the 12th, the 13th, and the 14th are three very explosive times. And I'm hoping I'm using the word explosive just in theoretical versus reality of what is happening, what is changing. And I have no doubt whatsoever this alignment, and I apologize, I have not looked up the chart for Greenwich in Iceland as to what is happening there, but I am willing to bet that this Mars-Pluto, it plays a very big place in the chart of that particular region. And I keep watching it because I'm just enthralled, where they keep talking about, possibilities of more magna. Mars creates explosions. Mars, yes, is the god of war, but Mars also is the god of volcanoes. So this will be interesting times. Now, I also will tell you in your own personal life, there also will be endings. And they don't have to be drastic endings, but I want you to pay attention. And I want you to be in the moment Most times we go through life, la, 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 la land. This is not the time to be in la, la land. This is the time to be in the moment, to recognize that there are so many things going on around us. We need to be in the flow. We want to be in that actual flow of things. Then, Mars will move on. Mars moves relatively quickly. Mars is moving at a relatively good rate right now. Mars is going roughly about 1 degree per day. The moon is coming up. We want to be very aware when the moon reaches Uranus. We're not there yet. We're on the 14th of February. This is Valentine's Day. And I've also written an article on my website, which I will also put down there. Because of it being Valentine's Day, do opposites attract each other? How do we find the attraction to people around us? So I'll try to remember to link that down below. If I have not linked it below, just go to my website. It's under one of the blogs that I've written. We've got, we're on the 15th here. And on that 15th, now we've got Venus in that anaretic degree, that 29 degrees. That is the last degree before we get to the 30 degrees of a sign. It's a very karmic degree. Now, Venus gets here once a year. Venus comes around the circle once a year, give or take a day or so. But she's very strong there coming in. And we also have the moon in Uranus. That's the emotionalism about an unexpected event that has taken place. Probably will happen in our life due to a conversation, because Mercury is at 17 degrees Aquarius. Mercury is our planet of communication. That creates a square. We don't like squares. Creates annoyances. And what you're going to find is somebody around you is going to say something that is going to sound too cold for you. Before reacting, I want you to stop. Would you rather that the person laid the cards on the table and was up and honest? Or would you rather that they hidden that from you? For me personally, I would rather that they be absolutely honest. If that's how they feel, then I now know what I'm dealing with. So again, it's about being in the moment. And rather than absolutely reacting, stop for a moment. Stop for a moment and question, but how is that working for me? You may not have liked their approach. You may not have liked what they said, but at least now you know. Then we move on to the 16th. Now Venus and Pluto have come together. Now Mars have not moved far. And one of the things is with aspecting, with astrology. So with aspecting, we have planets coming up and coming together, and then they kind of meet at spot, and then they go further on. The majority of the time, and I get this question a lot, when am I going to feel this? Well, we often feel it when it's coming up, and then when it's exact, and then as it moves away, it's like it's ebbing away from us, except for 2 planets. One of them is Mars, and the other one is Uranus. We often don't always feel Mars and Uranus coming exact, but we often feel the fallout of it. So we said that Mars perfectly lined up with Pluto on the 13th. We will feel that exact effect of it on the 16th. Now Venus is lined up with Pluto. there are endings that happen in our life that sometimes, oh, we don't want that to happen. We don't want that to end. We don't want that to finish. We don't want, like, oh my God, don't make that happen. Like, that's not a very good idea. But then when it's done and it's over, you go, oh, that was probably one of the best things that happened. This is this kind of scenario that's starting pretty much on the 13th and takes us right to the 16th. Your mindset will absolutely be changing through that time period. So then Venus continues on. Venus is moving 1 degree per day. Mars is moving 1 degree per day. The sun is now finishing off its last degrees of Aquarius. It entered there on the 20th of January, where we said, happy birthday to our Aquarian friends. Now on the 18th of February, we're sort of finishing off that vibration of Aquarius. And on the 19th, we have the sun moving into Pisces. And the sun is trining the moon. That moon is very, very strong on that day. You'll find a huge sense of emotionalism on that day. When the moon is going through every month, when the moon is going through the sign of Cancer, and again, this happens every 28, 29 days. When the moon is going through the sign of Cancer, we often feel a great sense of emotionalism. And we do because in astrology, the moon rules Cancer. With the sun having moved into Pisces, as I said, we say happy birthday to our Pisces friend. And when I do the next new moon, I'll be talking about the gemstone I will be choosing for our Pisces friends. Now, since we've been talking, this North Node and Chiron has been doing the dance. Chiron, am I smart enough? North Node, of course you are. Chiron says, but I've always had this fear of doing that. North Node says, I'm so happy you're over that. Chiron says, I don't know if I'm smart enough. North Node says, well, we'll find out a way. Let's have you look up stuff or study stuff, or we've got this. We've got an answer. So you will find yourself playing back and forth. With any luck, we hope that North Node will be what wins. Then we move our way along, and we've got Venus now and Mars set together, both of them at 5 degrees together. That is the bringing together of that internal feminine and masculine energy, the internal coupling of that feeling of that energy. And in the idea of Aquarius, if you get a chance on that day, on the 20th of February, do a little dance. In medical astrology, Aquarius has to do with our legs and our arteries and stuff. So your legs will be very electrically pulsed with Mars going through Aquarius. So get to see that. The other thing that I always find when we do some kind of a ritual with Aquarius, how can I see myself becoming free? That's a big alignment there. And so we want to do some type of a meditation where we see ourselves cutting the cords with people we are connected with that no longer serve the purpose, no longer help us, and we can't help them. And sometimes it is a timing to move along and to move on. And this is the time that we will actually feel that vibrational energy. We get to the 21st. We get to you can see that for a few days, Mars and Venus are playing together, the masculine, feminine energy. Mercury is finishing off its journey through Aquarius. We're going to find that our mode of communication will actually be changing. Our mode of communication will be going from realism. That's the Aquarian mindset. Sometimes, and I probably said this on the last one, that sometimes Aquarius can come across very cold. That is because of their sense of reality and realism. And when Mercury goes through Aquarius, that is very much about futuristic conversations. As Mercury gets ready now to go into Pisces, we will now find that our mode of communication and conversation will go to a lot more elusiveness. It will bring on almost a bit of a poetry type of a realm to it. And that's where we are when we get to the 23rd of February. Now, also what's happening is, and I'm going to kind of stop it here because the 24th is the full moon. I will do another video on the full moon. We still have Chiron and North Node. Let us allow that to work together. We also, over on the other side, we have the asteroid goddess Juno and Black Moon Lilith sitting together. Both of those are sitting together at 15 degrees Virgo. They're working together. Juno is all about relationships and partnerships. Black Moon Lilith is a bit of that shame to ask for help. Juno is trying to teach us here that there is not one person, not one person on the earth plane who is perfect, Virgo. However, it takes a village, it takes a group, it takes a bunch of people to make something happen. We are not an island all unto ourselves. Asking for help is not showing that you're not smart enough or tall enough or cute enough or whatever. It is recognizing we cannot be all things to all people. So work your new moon magic on that 9th of February. Put a note on your computer. Take it to work with you. Put it up on your screen. Am I thinking outside of the norm today? Or am I staying in the same old mind patterns? Stop it. Don't stay in the same mind patterns. Staying in the same mind patterns keep us stuck in that pattern. The new moon in Aquarius says, we want different. We want new. We want to expand. We want to make this happen. We want to move forward. We want to go into the future. We don't want to be stuck. We want to keep going. Thank you very much for spending this time with me. If you have not already subscribed, I invite you to do that right down there. And if you like what you've heard and want to see more, click on the bell right over on this side, and I will do some links down on the bottom. Thank you very much. Keep in touch. Love your comments. Take care. Bye-bye.